Alright, I'm gonna guess that everyone can about hear me right about now. Hello and welcome to the second week of the OCE Smite Podcast. My name is Rankonius. I'm gonna be a bit of a host. We're fairly higgledy-piggledy. We'll just flow through it and whatnot. Joining me tonight is, of course, your host from last week, who was the guy that really kicked off this idea with a little bit of help from a bunch of people, Nightfall. Nightfall, good evening.
Hello, how are we doing?
And alongside him, and to round out a lovely, glorious cast for tonight's first ever multi-person podcast, is going to be Temperwolf. Temperwolf, how are you going?
I'm doing quite well, thanks.
Alright, sick. So, obviously, welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, click the follow button because there'll be fairly regularly. We're going to try and do this once a week, I think. Get a bunch of us sort of together to discuss a bunch of things. So, good way to start is by following the channel. You can also keep up to date with pretty much, where everything is just by jumping across to the Facebook page, just Smite OCE, Smite Australia, New Zealand, Smite Oceania, that sort of stuff. You'll find a lot of content over there. But I think it's probably about time that we should start getting into some content. So first up, biggest thing that's probably happened this week, and it's going to affect every game that's ever played from this point on. Season 2 patch has landed. We've got role changes, we've got ADC's new scaling, we've got a new buff on the map, we've got a bunch of new items, we've got map quality changes, we've got map size changes. So let's start right from the very beginning and potentially talk about the new ADC scaling.
Oh,
You
definitely,
guys,
yeah.
these are more of the experts, so head
I
into this one for me.
I absolutely love the new ADC scaling. I mean, the 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 late game of an AD carry is so amazing now. Because there used to be quite a lot ability based, in my opinion, with say like Apollo. His wave clear was insanely good. Um, and his ultimate was also just amazing. But now he's lower tier, and people like Cupid, Shibalanke, those who used to be super weak are now extremely strong. It's so good to see such a big change. And I was talking to Anorexia the other day. Um, of course, Titan's AD carry, second in the World Championships. He said he didn't like the change, but he thinks it was the best buff to an AD carry ever. So yeah, that's just yeah. What about you, Temper?
I absolutely love it. I love that they finally nerfed the top tier hunters. Like we were seeing way too much of. Oh, what really? No, it's not. What? No.
Okay,
Can you
so
guys hear me?
apparently, Nightfall has his microphone muted on the stream.
Do I?
Oh
Oh, I
man,
don't know.
he just
No
like you should
way.
have heard all this fantastic stuff he just come out with about. Anyway, we'll
Really?
get back into it. Tempo, you were just rolling through a little bit of a discussion of your thoughts of the 80 carry changes.
Yeah. Can you guys actually hear me? Like,
Yeah, we can hear you fine. It was
Okay.
we can-
Okay, it's all good. Nah, I'm really excited for it. I'm really glad that they finally did it. It's the top tier hunters ex top tier hunters were just so prominent. Like you'd see them every game. You see your Apollos every game, Ram every game. Then Unher came in, and it was the same stuff every single day. And every time someone tried to deviate away from that, especially during season 1, it kind of got popular for a little bit, like your Freya ADCs and all that. But they always, in the end, defaulted back to those free hunters. And what they did, they just said, "Oh, I see your top tier. Let me destroy all sorts of clear you have in the early game." And then X-Baller walks up, Cupid walks up, AMC walks up, Kronos walks up, Poseidon walks up, and they go, "Hey, I think this duo lane's looking pretty tasty." And now, with this change, like all these new hunters are coming back in. The hunters that used to be considered complete crap are now back on top, and stuff's just going crazy, man. Like I love the return of X-Baller, man. He does so much damage.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, everyone's definitely been posting in the group about X-Ball, and I'm just like, who the hell is this guy? I've actually got because I'm sitting down, and because I'm fairly fresh, obviously, to Smite, and I'm going through from A to Z because I bought the God Pack, and I'm just sort of going through. I'm going, oh yeah, this sort of hero is fun. I'm up to like about Apollo, and I played one game at Apollo, and I was like just really really hooked. So I'm just gonna play him. Even he's fallen out of the meta. I don't care. I'm playing him.
He could still work. Like
Yeah.
Apollo is still a very effective AD carry. It's just he now has to have the support babysit him quite a lot during the early game because every other hunter's out clearing him now. Like if you've played him in the new patch, he struggles really hard now to effectively clear wave. Still can be used, like his ultimate presence, the Mez, the dash, he's
Well,
still very safe.
Roam
He's
presence
just
in every MOBA is always so heavily
Yeah.
valued, and like just the amount that he can bring to the table is just it's tremendous. So-
Personally, I'm loving Cupid right now. He's so good, especially in a 1v1, and with Shibalonke being like a top tier pick, Cupid he counters him quite well because you just ult and that cripples. He can't dash away, and early game he normally doesn't have beads or Aegis or anything, so you could just blow him up with your ult with that heart bomb, two abilities, and there goes more than 70% of his health, and then you just finish him off with a couple basic attacks. It's so fun to play.
Yeah, and I definitely like just from again obviously going back, I have very very little experience this Smite, and that's gonna come through in a lot of the opinions and whatnot I have. But the way you guys are just sort of discussing this sort of changes is I feel like we're gonna go back to more of a sustainy duo lane. And the reason for that is obviously the wave clear and whatnot has sort of been nerfed a little bit. The mana rolls through, so you're going to rely a lot more on those basic attacks to push the wave a lot harder. And I think one of the hardest learning experiences for me coming into Smite as a MOBA is the fact that as soon as a turret starts hitting a creep, you get no gold for that creep. Like it's not written anywhere, and until somebody actually actively told me after I'd played about 10-15 games, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So,
That mechanic was, I think that's why wave clear was so strong. If you pushed hard, you put the enemy behind so far because of that mechanic you just said, the tower just getting rid of that gold.
and at
But
the same time, it opens up your own roam potential. Like you've got no wave in mid lane. What's the point of being there? You've got no experience, no gold to gain. So roam. So that really affected the meta quite strongly in season one, even like just from an outsider's perspective. And that's where I feel that it was going. But now the options are more open, and this is what I really enjoy about the MOBA genre is having a wide variety of options, and this is why Dota is actually such a popular game, is that you have all these options, you can play them all sorts of different ways, and it still works. It may get to the point where we may see hunters mid lane, we may see general mid laners actually going towards that duo lane. It may happen, and this patch and this sort of changes towards the hunters is about reflecting a lot more availability of different sort of compositions. And I mean, we were actually discussing in a bit of the pre-show. Nightfall, you noticed a 4 assassin composition coming out at some point. So
Yeah.
just take us through that one.
So I don't remember which team it was, but during the Smite qualifiers, some team, I don't remember which specifically, decided to play with 4 assassins, among which were Alquang, Circuit, Bakasura, and don't remember the last one, but yeah, like you said, the diversity and the things that you can do now, like the different compositions you can have, is crazy compared to season one, and I really like the change because it just means that more gods can be played, and nothing's really ban worthy. Also, like, well, sorry, let me like things are ban worthy still. It's just there's such a wider range of things that you can counter with. That's what I meant. There we go.
There you go.
And I
I
would
don't-
definitely agree with that point. But season 2, it's opened up a little bit. Like it's just allowed everyone to start fresh. Like we got item changes, new items coming in, and the nerfs to the gods that were necessary. Like I reckon all nerfs were justified. And at the moment, the game's in a pretty nice state of balance. And because of that nice state of balance, the things that used to be top are now brought back down that little bit. Like your Circuit. Circuit has just been first ban, first pick. You don't even question that. She has just been so prominent. But now, with gods like Poseidon coming back in the mid lane, that just so many more gods are able to control what used to be completely destructive. I would say the meta's it's still corely the same. Like it's still at the moment most effective to put a mage in the mid lane, something supporty, tanky front line in the solo. Jungle, it's still you're gonna be looking for your one-shotter, but I reckon the biggest change is in duo because duo right now is all about that clear. Like if you don't
Yeah.
get if you can out clear your opponents, get them on the tower, you're stripping them with gold,
Yeah.
but not XP. Like you always got to keep in mind as well, you're still getting XP. So tower farming does work if you can pull yourself out of it. But I really reckon the biggest change in the meta is just going to come out of the duo. Like your warrior sports are coming back in a strong way. Your Sun Wukongs, your Guan Yus, they're back as in, and that's actually going back old school, back when warriors were just so OP. And the hunters, it's everyone's game. Like I reckon every hunter can now perform, but that's Shivalenka though. I really hope they don't nerf my Shivalenka. Like, I enjoy the kid. I can't take in the mid lane, unfortunately.
So I think it's probably a good time now. We spent a decent sort of amount on that. I think we're all definitely confident in that. But general gameplay, let's sort of actually, even before we get to general gameplay, this is also a change that's rapidly going to affect the league solo queue. Is that it's no longer solo queue. You can take a friend, and
Yes.
unlike,
Oh, I love this.
oh yeah, it's so much fun, right? Is
Yeah.
just being able to play with a friend. But unlike other MOBAs where League of Legends in specific actually limits you to taking one friend, and you'll be the only pair on your team that will be in a duo, you can have two duos within a team
Yes.
on either side.
Yeah.
So how that'll affect it, I don't know. What are you guys? Are you guys keen to just like queue up with your scrubby friends just for a game, or I don't know. What are you guys gonna do?
I think it's kind of good because uh, not 100% of the time, but 90% of the time, the AD carry and the support will be friends, and then their synergy will be quite good. And then usually mid lane and jungle are also friends. So if you're matched together with that sort of duo, and then you join a curse call and you're all the team is in, and those two synergizing roles already having a good synergy, that can change the game like so tremendously.
Yeah, I completely agree. Duo queue ranked was a fantastic idea. It allows it. It kind of removes a bit of the scariness from League. Like before, like you queue by yourself, you get placed in, you're in qualifying. That means you can be placed anywhere from bronze match to a platinum to a diamond match. Like
Dear God, I'm
it
not
was
going to enjoy placements.
it was scary, and new players were coming in, getting paired with the top players, and getting completely curb stomped. And then, to be honest, I never saw those ranked players again. And it just, I just love the idea because it now allows them to queue with a mate and climb together. Like your duos, your mids, your jungles. Like they now have, the friend that they've obviously been practicing with to bring them in and come play with them. I'm personally having an awful experience with ranked so far. I'm actually on the verge of getting demoted, so I'm kind of staying away from the moment. I've just got a bad role, man. Like the system hates me. Like I did make a few mistakes, but all in all, it's rough, man. But no, I love it. Like I'll be able to be out queuing with my boy Biggie. I'll be out queuing with Subfloor, like Ro, if I can ever get Ro to queue rank with me.
Well, what do you?
It'll
I
be
mean,
good fun.
on the basis of that, like you've just said that it's going to promote obviously the synergy between generically. This is not a one sort of statement fits all guide here. This is only a generic statement. You said you're going to be looking to promote more out of your duo lane, and then also from the jungler mid lane duo. Do you feel like that's actually going to promote a higher level of play because these players, instead of just having to scrim up as a team to get the actual team full of practice in, do you feel like that's going to promote a higher tier of play into that team sort of level of play with the cyber game and ladder, that sort of stuff, and then carry that across as well and apply it to other regions, so like the North American Pro League and the European Pro Leagues?
Oh god, I completely just lost my train of thought. Oh, god damn it.
It's so good.
No, I really reckon it is going to promote just everything. I reckon quality of games are going to go up because as you get a duo queue against a duo queue, in an ideal situation, it should be a good fight.
Yeah.
You guaranteed the comms at least on two very key roles. Like honestly, everyone says you want to get in the league. I say, well, have you got curse? And they go, no. I'm like, don't queue league.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing in League is when someone is a mute or not talking.
Yeah.
Let's just substitute someone like Golden Pig though. Like that guy just stomps my duos, and I don't know why.
Curse voice
But
is definitely a must.
yes, I would say if you can get it, get it.
Yeah.
But the duo queue, like ranked, has been played more times in this season than I think I saw it all in season 1, and I've heard nothing but love for it. No one
Mm.
said they hated it yet, so
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
And as well, like on that sort of point, is it opening up new sort of practice opportunities for you guys with obviously the limited amount of teams and scrim time that is available on the Oceanic server?
Oh, definitely, yes. My support and I, we haven't queued ranked yet, but we definitely need to, because casuals right now for pro, I want to say pro, but yeah, for pro teams right now is it's kind of difficult with the matchmaking state. Um, I mean, it's just lowly populated, so it just tries to get everyone into a match. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
right, so I'll
absolutely-
see you guys on the battlegrounds.
Yeah.
My first league game, you guys will be there fighting, killing me a bunch.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, I like this. Yeah. 030, bring it on. Oh god.
Yeah, you'll be fine, man.
So that's like just one of the changes that they obviously made. We should probably start looking to obviously move through a few more here. Jungle camps. I think this one, the sort of I do feel like with a lot of these earlier changes within the patch, they're trying to more generalize the MOBA and make it a lot more available to enjoyers of the other MOBAs. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Smite obviously does, especially in Oceania, have a smaller following. So you've got to remember that sort of thing. It's going to bring the other players in. It's going to bring in the money base, and that means that potentially some of our teams can go pro. One of our teams in Oceania is going to the World Championships, and they need the right amount of practice, so they're not going to embarrass our region. So without further ado, let's get straight into the jungle camp changes on all maps. Okay, this is not just specific to Conquest. This is across all maps. All jungle camps, including Fire Giant and Gold Fury, no longer become invulnerable and heal instantly when leashed or reset. So what they're now going to do is heal at a rate of 10% of their maximum health value every 1 second and are able to be re-engaged during their repeat back to camp. This may have a limit applied to it. I'm not sure how much you guys have actually tested this one, so you may be able to say something different. When leashing or out of combat, camp monsters will no longer take damage sources from outside their leashing area. So if you guys have noticed, I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone that's actually watching has actually played the game. You may or may not have noticed that there is a ring of stones around the camp to just sort of designate the area that the camp will be dragged out to. If you attack it from outside that or do any damage sources to the camp from outside that range whilst it is resetting and slowly healing back up to its maximum, then it won't be counted as damage against that camp. A new attack speed buff, especially on the duo side, Nightfall, we'll go through this one with you in just a second, has been added into all maps and provides plus 15% attack speed, plus 15 magical in-hand power, and plus 12 physical in-hand power. And this buff will be replacing the speed buff in every map except Conquest, where it replaces the Gold Fury on the... the blue buff on the Gold Fury side. That was worded rather funkily. Now, this is an important one out of those ones so far. So, Nightfall, take us through the new attack speed buff.
So something I did want to point out, if you try to lifesteal a jungle camp while outside of it, you won't deal any damage, so you don't get any life back, whereas you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to deal the damage and get life back. So say you were in a team fight, but you were just too low, so then you tried to just gain some life back before going back into the fight. You could lifesteal from a jungle camp. You can't do that anymore from outside the range. So onto the attack speed. I think it's so good because it promotes more auto attacking, which is what I really like about AD carries. It's what I always wanted them to be in season 1. But like I said before, they were sort of ability based. But now with that attack speed buff, I really like it. And if you don't get it first, if they invade and you lose on your attack speed buff, that is insane. You are so far behind. from your enemy who does have the attack speed buff. It's crazy. The amount of damage that they can put out with that extra in hand damage is really good. Yeah.
So you think for early aggression, it's going to be focused on towards the attack speed buff, and securing that one away from your enemy more so than anywhere else on the map.
I wouldn't say more so anywhere. I'd say take away the jungler's speed buff because that takes
Yeah.
away so much mobility. But yeah, it's still very strong. If you could take any buff away from the enemy at early levels, it's crazy. So, just something else I wanted to say is that the invading. I don't know how to word this. Invading is much more better to do now, I think.
It's
It's
transitioned
more
though
reward?
into- It's more reward, but it's more reward, but for a greater risk. If you invade
Yeah.
in this current season and you fail the invade, you are going to completely screw over your jungler and whoever you invaded with, because now with how the map works, and because oh god, I can't quite say it. It's in my head, trying to say it, not quite working. But if you try it and you fail, you're going to get punished really, really hard. Like you'll transition back into lane, but your jungler's path is going to be stuffed. His mental timer is going to be off. Your solo's now left without a buff for the early game, and it's just it's chaos. But if you do it, it is massive reward. You strip a ton of experience and gold. You gain the early advantage because generally on an invade you want to get a kill on the way in as well. Like you can secure the buff and get out, but in an idealist situation you want to kill, take the buff, walk away. You're laughing. If that does so happen, it's just it can be GG at that point if it's pulled off effectively. But it is so risky right now that a lot of teams aren't quite doing it justice yet.
Yeah.
So would you say potentially a reason for the not invading is that the risk is far outweighing the reward right now?
I say it's more of just comfort right now. Everyone's still feeling around in the meta, just seeing what's going on. And I think just invading is just one of those things that we know it's a lot higher risk, so it's a lot more difficult to pull off. So I guess teams are still fear crafting around it, figuring out the best strat, and gods to go into that. I know in the tournament, one particular team tried to 5-man invade our solo side, and we said okay, and we counter rotated up and stole their red and their attack speed buff. I then rotated in the mid lane, only lost 5 creeps, but it's very easily counterable as well if spotted out with early vision. So not a whole lot of teams are pulling it off just yet. But I'd say it's because it's in the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something else I'd like to point out is that the jungle was very. I don't want to sound like I know what it is, but the jungle seems very limited because there's 4 buffs. All of them, except for the speed buff, goes to everyone in the lanes, and then there's 2 back camps, 2 mid camps. If you take away one of those things from the enemy, like you said, it's high risk, high reward. It's a massive amount of experience and level gain. Well, experience, same thing. It's just taken away from the enemy. So yeah.
It also depends on like how effective you are at farming as a jungler. Like you got to keep in mind as well. If you're invading, you're spending your time in their jungle, and you only really get ahead if you can turn back and also farm the one that you replaced. So if you manage to clear all your buff, like ideally, if you're going to invade as a jungler, you're probably on the second round of buffs where you go for the timing. You either try and catch the jungler out or try and catch someone when they're not there on the buff spawn, so you steal it before they have any idea. But it all comes down to the skill of the jungler and how effectively they farm. Because you can go in and say steal their back XP camps, but a jungler's going to go, oh, what a dick, he stole my XP camps, goes, shares a wave with mid, and then can go hunting for the jungler in the path that he missed. Because by the time that ideally the junglers want to be almost mirroring each other depending on matchup. But it's quite easy to predict a jungler's movements, where they're going to be. And if they don't hit certain points at certain times, you know something's amiss. And also, if you get caught in the enemy jungle, you're dead.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
I learned that the hard way today in casuals.
Yeah.
I haven't learnt at all. What is this thing called wards again? I haven't bought one yet. So, all right. Well, yeah.
Wards for
Moving
game.
along. Jungle camp changes. This is another big one because of obviously the sort of focus between the mid lane around the mid harpy. Mid harpy camps now have their initial spawn delayed by 3 minutes, so that's actually a fair amount of time to push that one back. The speed buff orange now only provides movement speed and not attack speed, whereas we now have a distinct attack speed buff. Power buff and the speed buff on the order side of the map have been swapped and are now aligned to be on the same side of the map. Both mana buff camps on the Gold Fury side of the map have been removed and replaced with the new attack speed buff, which we mentioned just a little while ago. Jungle camps now have an introduction animation as well as reaction animations. Note the introductions have been improved over the course of PTS, and camps are now hittable at the correct map timings. So that's kind of cool. You're going to be able to interact with the buffs as soon as the timing comes down. Jungle camps and minions will no longer target each other, allowing minions to return to lane quicker. Who really wants to lose their minions to the jungle anyway?
I found it quite funny because if you're really aggressive and you pull minions into the jungle buffs, it's just a little bit of damage to help you take the buffs.
Oh no, but if the minion gets the last, like it used to be, if the minion got the last hit upon the buff, it would despawn. So the minion would take it. It would counter. It wouldn't credit towards any team. It would go into a neutral zone and despawn. So
Really?
you could, if a minion gets the
Wow.
last hit, like I think they've changed it now because the minion should not be able to do that anymore.
Yeah.
But what it used to happen is they say you had a gladiator minion beaten down on that buff and it gets the last tick of health, it despawns.
Minions OP, please.
Yeah, like you don't get credited for anything for it.
Wow.
It was a tiny bug that rarely happens, but like when it happens, you're just like, really?
Well, I mean, this was also a major strategy, obviously, that was coming up in Dota, is to actually pull the lane minions into the jungle, have them tank the jungle, totally denying your opponent XP, because they're not going to be anywhere near enough in range, because you're pulling them generally in between the two turrets. So, and then you get the camp to reset as well, stacking up the camp, which obviously you can't do in Smite as well. So, it's interesting to see that Hi-Rez themselves are opting to go away from that strategy. They don't actually want that to be a part of the game, because I mean, it potentially there's two ways you can play against it. One, you either just sit in lane and nothing is ever going to happen. Two, you farm your there's three ways you can play against it. Two, you farm your jungle as best as you possibly can because you have little experience, no items, you're not going to play that all that well. Or three, you roam around and you try and do something, but normally for that to happen, you need to at least have a little bit of experience, or you're going to be leeching experience from other lanes. So, obviously, with the way that the map is laid out with Smite, I do think this is actually a Smite idea. This is a Smite idea to totally remove that from the game and get the minions back regularly into the lane faster. It makes the game a little bit more fluid, and obviously just the layout of the map does not lend itself well to dragging the lane creeps into the jungle to help you leash them and really take them away. It's just there's little to no benefit for it. It takes an awful lot amount of effort, and just removing that a bit further from the game cleans everything up as well. Seeing as they don't want to take that game in the direction. I mean, do you guys have any comments on that one as well?
It's basically just how Smite works. Like Smite minions are unlike any other minions in MOBAs. Just the last hitting, very minor. Not many people really care for it unless you're stacking. And the roaming into jungle, it's just an annoyance. Like early game, minions are really strong. They can blow you up in 1 second. One line of archers kills you early game.
Yeah.
And just that kind of mechanic just wouldn't quite fit in with how Smite has been just pretty much designed, because minions roaming around the jungle would be great and all, but I think it would just break the flow.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. That's good. That's a nice. No, I thought you tied that one up rather well there, Temperwolf. So continue moving along with this one. Titans will no longer take damage from any source outside of its leashing range while being leashed, or standing at its spawn point, which is basically clarification across with the jungle camps as well. Fire Giant now uses both melee and ranged attacks. This is a bit more of a change.
This is big.
And as well, before we continue on and come back and discuss it a bit more, Fire Giant now uses a new set of abilities and has a new encounter. And importantly, the area around the Fire Giant has been changed in size and shape and whatnot. So this is, I feel, with more open space, you generally wanting to fight a little bit more. Whereas with more closed space, there's so much juking that you can do that it's kind of not conducive to fight. So have you guys got any comments on that one?
Fire Giant deals a whole lot more damage now. It's crazy. with the new spells, it's so much harder to take it, and it's so much more riskier to take it, because if the enemy comes in and you're taking more Fire Giant damage, they can kill you so easily that they just deicide you, take the Fire Giant in the game. It's so risky now. And with the extended area now of the Fire Giant area, fights are just much more prone to happen, and I quite like that.
I completely agree. I love the change on Fire Giant. Like, new set of abilities actually requires your team to dynamically interact with the Fire Giant whilst also keeping tabs on the enemy. And the changing of the health is just so huge. Like, you see the enemy on FG, you cannot be afraid. Like, you have to go in, because the amount of damage that the Fire Giant now puts out is just insane. So if you can catch the enemy off guard while they're doing it, and even just distract them, they're going to be chunked so hard. And I think we actually had another in-game example in the finals against Trident. They once went against FG, and Subfloor and Sporks, 2v4, I think, were able to walk in, and with just how much Fire Giant disrupts and damage them in time between the team fight and the FG call, they just got wiped because they had no health.
Awesome.
I love the dynamic it's brought, the openness and everything. It just encourages fighting rather than let's stand on the FG and whale all our damage into it. It's now dynamic movement.
Yeah, it's great.
Alright. Towers and Phoenixes fixed an issue that will allow for faster targeting of Towers and Phoenixes onto players. Again, this is just cleaning everything up and making it a lot more smooth as a game. There's a lot of those changes in this patch, mind you, but it's definitely better for game state. And finally, rounding out the list of game changes, lane mechanics, assisted reward range for minion and camp kills reduced from 80 to 60, so you have to be a lot closer to that lane to obviously get that one out. And the time to earn rewards from tagging damaging minions and camps has been reduced from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. So this is about promoting, I feel like this is a lot more about promoting, obviously, that duo lane and their distinct interactions and the environment down there. And Nightfall, once again, our duo lane expert, shall we term you?
I wouldn't say expert, but I know a little bit. So with the XP range, I want to say nerf, just the XP range is a lot smaller now. This does promote a lot of zoning. If you zone the enemy away from a frozen lane, they're going to be much further behind in terms of levels and gold. And I really like this change, because it means when you zone, the enemy could potentially get aggressive, and then it's more fighting. And it's I really like that XP range change. It's great.
I'm still personally on the fence about it. It just makes... I personally think it slows the game down in terms of support rotations, because now they have to make sure that the wave is pretty much cleared before they leave, because you can no longer walk into duo, tag a wave, and support goes and rotates back to mid lane. It's now, if you want to effectively farm, you got to make sure you're there. We're starting to get the patterns down now, but that timing is just really awkward, because Store freezing a lane right now is huge. If you freeze a lane effectively, you're going to strip your opponent of basically everything they could want. And forces their hand, as you said, Nightfall. It forces, if you were in a frozen lane, you either got to get a gank, or you gotta grow some balls and man up to them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I personally don't like it, but I can see why they changed it because it was just a little too easy to share the farm around now. But yeah, dynamic wise, I don't like it. I wish
Fair
I could
enough.
just tag away. Like, I want the supports to be dynamically moving around while still falling, while still getting the farm they need. Right now, it's just a little bit more difficult for them to find the farm. And as I said, sharing across like buff camps, like I got to make sure I'm at least in the range. It's just little things. It bugs me.
Well, personally, like again, coming across from separate MOBAs, I feel like this change is targeted at risk versus reward. Right? If you roam and you miss half the wave, you were there for the first 5 seconds, you got half the waves, worth of experience and gold and whatnot, and yet you roam mid lane, you risk that rest of the wave. Do I want to roam? It's more about creating dynamic choice points within the game to liven up the atmosphere of what the lane is like and what the map is like. Do you assist your team because your carry is far enough ahead, or do you stay with your carry and risk the rest of the map, to really promote things? And it will obviously affect timings around specific buffs and whatnot. Fire giant, oh, well, not so much fire giant, but gold fury. You could see supports just suddenly bail and leave half a wave of XP to go and potentially get their team a gold fury, and they don't get the gold fury, and they've missed out on all this XP, all this gold, and that puts them behind, and then they're forced to make hard choices. And to me, that's about making the map dynamic. There is now something else going on rather than just, oh look, I tagged the wave with a spell and now I run away. I still get gold. I still get experience. That's just not fun. That's not creating any sort of advantage, disadvantage. It's just creating, oh look, I threw a spell at a wave. Now I'm going to run off and I'm going to gank, and I'm still going to get advantages from both. So,
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that point. And when you put it like that, it makes perfect sense as to why I would do it.
Definitely.
I don't know. Like as I said, it's not actually too noticeable in game. It's just it screws up the players that have that mental timing. Like you walk to this range, you hit this minion, you know you're in the range of that. It's just tweak that around a little bit. Yeah, no, but the way you put that, like that makes complete sense, man. I can't dispute that because that was a good point.
Yeah. Well put.
Indeed.
yes! Yes! Alright, I'm getting respect from the Smite seasoned veterans. Yes, this is a good podcast. Alright. Now the big point of this patch, which we did obviously cover in our initial overview, new items. And there are a fair chunk of new items here. Let's start, obviously, with the first in alphabetical order. Achilles' Spear is opposed to Achilles' Heel, because who really wants to buy a used heal? Upon activation, gain plus 30% attack speed and plus 35% lifesteal and plus 30% movement speed for 5 seconds. You take 30% additional damage from all sources whilst this is active. Cost of 600, and this is a new active item that branches off of Sprint 1. So an interesting sort of change around the activatable items, and I'm tempted to like this one, but it's also timing heavy. Nightfall?
It goes back to more risk versus reward. That's quite a lot of what this patch is now. Because if you activate it, it makes the assassin so much more stronger against you. It makes all damage against you. What was it, 30%?
Yeah.
From all sources.
Yeah.
You are if you get it on an 80 carry, you're so much stronger, but you're so much more prone to burst. Because you can lifesteal so much more with that, and that move speed is great. But it just makes you so much more vulnerable. I personally love it. I bought it on Poseidon. It didn't really work out, but it was awesome. But I love that item. I get it almost every game.
Oh my god.
It's I just like it a lot because of the move speed, because of the lifesteal. You can sustain much longer in team fights. It's just you have to have that awareness of positioning and where the assassin is.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The items just. I don't
Is
like
this
it.
purely because you don't play hunters? Is this like,
That could be it, but ADC is actually my second role after mid.
oh
Like
wow,
I'm a mid
wow.
first, then ADC, then jungler. Um, but I know like it gives so much. Like it gives you everything you could possibly want, but 30% extra damage, like
It's pretty significant.
Kraken says hello. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Unless
Um,
you have Aegis, you're dead, pretty
and
much.
that's the thing. Like an active slot is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
And even though it gives you these great stats, like there's a reason people don't pick up Girdle is because it doesn't like it may give a fair bit, but I don't think it gives enough to warrant the risk of not running, say, an Aegis or beads or whatever other active in that slot. It just I don't know it fits in really awkwardly with the risk it comes with. Like you can get heaps of DPS and utility out of it in that couple of seconds, but if you're not playing perfectly at that point and landing all your AAs, you're just going to get obliterated by a mage.
Yeah.
So does it require maybe potentially a bit more compositional building around purely around this item and around some maybe more higher damage later game carries with a way to get them there? Maybe some heavily promoted wave clear yet peel ability in your solo and mid lanes. Obviously, do you guys expect to be seeing comps like this that are purely built to this activatable item?
I personally don't see actually like you build comps around what you want to achieve in a game. So say you want to rush, do an early game, you pick your early game gods. Say you want to stall for a late game, you build a late game comp, like all that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna base the comp like completely around someone building spear, it's a lot of commitment that you would sacrifice in other areas of the pick and ban phase that I don't think it would warrant enough thing. Like that, as I said, that extra little bit of DPS may be really nice, but in the grand scheme, it just I don't think it could quite work. Like you can draft around, like you can whack a bruiser, get a really strong frontline support, and just have like huge peel thingos. So your ADC can get in there, activate that spear, and put out unholy damage. Like that works, but you can do exactly that anyway with the ADC being able to live a little bit more in lane with, say, beads or a sprint. Like, I just find that other actives are still putting out more utility than what Achilles Spear can provide. Because you always want to get best value for money, and I don't think it's quite value. But that's my
Okay,
personal opinion.
so we're gonna rename it to Achilles Heel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Nightfall, you got anything? I mean, obviously, it's again, this patch is just like at you, man.
I really like it. Um, it's just down to the risk reward thing, and I like risking things, so that's why I like that.
Go hard or go home.
Pretty
Have I
much.
told you guys what my favorite item on Rari is yet?
Oh,
You
God.
have not. What is it?
Orb
It's
of Risk.
Uh,
That's what Notch calls it. Like the first game I played with him, I was just like, yeah, man, this is my favorite item to rush on Rari. He's just like, dude, you rush an Orb of Risk. Oh man.
it's
bloody Jim.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, and then I die like 5 times in succession immediately after buying it. Just to, make sure that I did buy the Orb of Risk and not the Orb of Safe.
Oh, God.
Anyway, Bluestone Pendant, plus 15 physical power, 90 health, plus 5 mana per 5, and a passive restores 4% of your missing mana every 5 seconds, cost of 800, and this is a new starting item, so obviously physical power, mana regeneration, and percentage mana regeneration as well. This is maybe added back in a sort of pseudo fix to the missing blue buff in the early game.
Yes. This item is so good. It makes people like Shibalonke, who has empowered basic attacks using mana, so much stronger. Because this item just changes so much. So on Xbalanque, it does cost mana, but because of that 4% of missing mana, that means the more you cast, the more mana regeneration you're going to have. So you can keep casting those basic attacks, have awesome wave clear, stronger basic attacks, and that's why I think he's really strong. There are definitely other reasons why, but this is one of the big ones.
The item's OP, man.
Yeah.
It's straight up OP.
Damn, I need a
it's
new
subtle.
first item.
It just assists so many gods right now. Like your ADCs, like your Xbalanques, your AMCs, they can now go in lane, and the thing that makes them good is how strong their ability power is. And you give them the ability to do lots of them and more of them, like you're gonna have a bad time. It also helps warrior supports
Yes.
as they're going to be roaming around. Like you want your warrior supports to be high aggression, up in people's face, poke, 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 poke. Bluestone allows them to do that. As before, like with watches, it was just all about your gold. Like you got to get your gold up, gold up, gold up. Now that's gone. Watches is now. I don't even really think it's even worth it to buy anymore.
Yeah.
When on your warrior supports, you're going to be either getting Bluestone or you're going to be getting Mark of the Vanguard.
Mark, yeah.
It's just, it provides so much. Like even the solo lane as well. Like they got a blue buff, but you get a Bluestone as well. You're going to be in that lane forever with a bit of sustain. It's a crazy item right now, man. I think they might tweak it depending on how it goes, but it's early days. It could be completely bad. On
Just-
some gods.
Just something I'd like to share is that me and my support queued for a casual, and he was Fenrir support, and I was Cupid. We both
Dirty
bought Bluestone Pendant, and we were against another Cupid Fenrir, and their Fenrir bought Mark of the Vanguard. So what we did was we just went full aggression, destroyed their Cupid because of the extra damage on our Fenrir, and then their Fenrir wasn't able to do anything. He was alone with no damage. So the aggression is just so much more from Bluestone Pendant than, say, Mark of the Vanguard.
Yeah, and that comes down also to like warrior versus guardian. Is you're gonna if you draft a warrior in the support role, you're looking for more that extra bit of DPS and clear in the damage. And if you get Mark on a warrior, you're just limiting your goal in the first place. Like a guardian's job is to be up in people's face, tanking all the damage. Like he's gonna be big, he's gonna be annoying, and he's gonna peel for his team, and he's gonna set up your team fights. But warriors, however, are more like, I'm going to be up in your face, taking the damage, but I'm going to tickle you a little bit at the same time with a little bit of reduced CC, but still annoying as hell.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're definitely looking to go for a long podcast this time around. But moving along, Celestial Legion Helm has received a significant rework. It now has a passive that absorbs the additional critical strike damage from the next critical strike from a basic attack. This effect cannot occur more than once every 15 seconds. When this occurs, you gain 40 bonus magical power for 3 seconds. That's a shorter period of time, and you got to realize when that crit's coming in. Cost reduced, however, from 3250 down to 2850. Critical strikes. We've seen a lot of hunter changes, and where does this sort of fit in as a counter out item?
Yeah,
I
it
wouldn't
fits to a
s-
certain extent. Like crit, like sure, crit is now a staple back on hunter builds, but right at this point, defensive items for like a mid lane mage, which is where you mostly ideally want to build this item, Magi's is still OP. Like it still gives you the 60
Yes.
immunity, and it is just insane. And also Wing Blade right now, with the amount of slows that are being drafted in comps right now, like you're gonna be. Unfortunately, right now, it falls in an awkward spot because those items are just so effective at the job they want. It would have to be a very specific situation with at least 2 to 3 members building crit on the enemy team for you to build into the helm. And I think it's really effective and the buff was needed, but it just needs... I don't know, it just falls really awkwardly into builds.
Yeah, usually the hunter won't build crit until fourth or fifth. Bluestone, Div Gloves, Boots,
Itchable.
Igvalia, then
Or however you say it.
Executioner, then crit.
Yeah.
So it falls into that late game defensive item, but like you said, Magi's is still crazy. It's so
Yeah.
good because late game you don't want to get picked, so you don't want that CC coming in. So if you get Magi's and you defend against a CC ability, you can jump out, you can get away. 40 seconds later, do the same thing again. It's so good.
Mm. I definitely
There we
think
go.
it can work.
It can.
So yeah,
It's-
it can. It's just very extremely situational.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like situational stuff. It's diversity. Diversity and acceptance of items evenly. Because we're about that here on this podcast, apparently. Decision made. Alright, Heartward Amulet. 60 magical protection, 300 health, passive aura of plus 20 physical protection, and plus 20 mana per 5. Cost of 2100, and this is a new tier 3 item that branches off of Silver Talisman. So this just feels like a decent magical protection item, but it's also about giving your team that MP5 back as well, so that they can all sort of cast that. So main item, boys, or you feeling like this is again another one of those situational items that's been added for a bit of diversity?
I don't like this item because Ares and his passive. More auras, more magical power, stupid chains, and everything broken about it. I mean, it's a good item. It's great because it's magical defense with an aura of armor defense. So it's basically the reverse of sovereignty. So if you get both these items, it's great. Just not on Ares because I don't like Ares because chains and damage and obnoxiousness.
Man, Ares is what got Titan back into the World Championships until that last game.
This is insane.
He's so good. Just when you're versing him, he's not good.
Alright, I know what I'll be banning in my first league game. Alright.
But the thing is, Cripple right now is probably the most valuable CC in the current meta, is my
Yeah.
personal opinion. Cripple is just so crazy.
It's so
It
good.
shuts down hunters, assassins, anyone that moves.
You could say it cripples them.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw a window. I went for it. Lotus Crown, plus 60 magical power, plus 30 physical protection, plus 20 mana per 5. And passive, any gods affected by your heals gain 20 physical and magical protection for 5 seconds. Cannot be cast again on the same target for 10 seconds. New tier 3 item that branches from Jade Mountain Helm with a cost of 2100 gold. This seems interesting, but to me it also says, I can't heal you just yet. I need to wait for the right moment.
It depends on who you are. Because if you're Chunga and you have an AoE heal on a cooldown of like 4 seconds, Chunga with this item is so good. Chunga, Hell, and Sylvanas with these items are really, really good. But Chunga, I feel, is the best. You wouldn't... It's good on Aphrodite as well, but it's not amazing because it's just you and one other person. Whereas if you have an AoE heal, like the other healers, it's really, really good.
It's very effective. Like, most healers generally transition into just exactly that. It's just gods that keep the team sustained. And the item's really handy because it just gives that little bit of extra utility to your heal. But it also promotes more aggressive placed heals. Your team's in the fight. Generally, you want to put your heal in the back line so when they retreat up, they're in full. But this promotes more aggressive heals. Like you get it on Ra. You're not going to be throwing your heal into the mid back line. You're going to be throwing it in the front line so your team can get maximum effectiveness from the passive. It's an item that I think promotes an aggressive playstyle. But as I said, as Nightfall just said, like it works perfectly on gods like Chang'e. But the passive of the actual item, like it comes off cooldown at around about the exact same time. Heal cooldowns come off anyway, so you're pretty much going to have it for every single heal you place on majority healers. I think it's really effective. Could fit into certain situations. It just depends what you're going for.
Awesome. Again, let's keep going for this diversity, guys. Alright, Runic Shield. This item has been significantly reworked to obviously go along with our Celestial Legion helm. Now going to be granting a passive aura. All enemies within 55 range have their magical power reduced by 50. and reduced magical protection on this item from 70 down to 50. So, little bit of a nerf. But did I see some changes all around? I don't know.
It,
Major changes, minor changes.
that 50 magical power aura reduction on an enemy, I feel that's massive. 50? That's half of what a Soul Reaver. That's a lot. That is a lot of magical power reduction. I mean, I don't play. Normally, you'd build it on a warrior, but I don't play warrior enough to see the difference. But that's just how I feel at the moment about it.
I don't feel we can listen to you anymore. You're not a warrior.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Temperwolf. Restructure this conversation, please.
Ah, shit. I would have restructured it if I just forgot what I was going to say again. God damn it.
It's all
Yep.
good.
What item were we talking about again? Sorry, I
One
just
of
lost
them.
it.
One of all the items. You just pick one, and we're talking potentially about that one. But no, Runic Shield specifically.
Runic Shield? I don't fit in that many builds. In all honesty, like warriors have so much diversity in what they can build, but they're probably I don't know, man. Like it just fits in as it's not one of those items that just fits in quite awkwardly, and there are just other items that just do so much more. I reckon it could be effective in a certain situation, like you're stuck in a build, you need a bit of defense. Oh yeah, this will give me a bit of an edge. Like then, in that kind of situation, you would build it, but it's one of those items where it's just not. It's not say a strictly meta build, but you can fit it in if you so felt.
I like
So
it
if
in
you're
Assault.
Yeah.
coming up against like 4 magic damage assassins, perchance.
Yeah, something like that. But I'd highly doubt someone would run that because it could be shut down.
Well, you never know. We might just find it. The OCE with other games tends to be meta breakers, so we might have you guys go for that. Tell your teams that I want to see 5 magical power assassins. Forget warriors. Forget this support guardian role. Just ham. Shield of
squishy, man.
Regrowth. We've Shield of Regrowth has received a significant rework as well. 20 physical power, 20 physical protection, plus 10 CDR, 10% CDR that is, not 10 CDR. You don't just lose 10 seconds across all your cooldowns, that'd be OP. Passive, after healing yourself for an ability, you gain 25% movement speed for 2 seconds, and this cannot occur more than once every 10 seconds. So a 10-second cooldown on that, and cost of 1,800 gold.
I just troll
Interesting
with the item, man. That's like I pick it up on like Hercules or something, and I just troll.
I'm gonna pick it up on Ra. I like it on
This is crazy, man. Like it's in the same category as the rest of them. It's kind of just more, geared towards assault and arena and all that, just for, bit of fun, bit of thingo. But strictly meta speaking, probably not. But as I said, like that's a problem with Smite right now is that they may have introduced a lot of item changes, but people are just going to work out what's most effective again and just start building it. Like, I'm theory crafting a lot around, say, my mid builds, and I'm not 100% happy with them, but I'm starting to get a meta build that I can already see coming stable with only 1 or 2 variations. And I would assume that would be probably similar to a lot of gods, except support maybe, because support's the most situational. But I see it just going back into that, like, we got new items, we got tweaks, but it's just going to revert to the way Season 1 was with a few variations.
On the topic of what you said about people just finding what's strong and then just using that, the 80 carry build doesn't change much.
No.
Because right now it's Devourer's Gloves, boots, attack speed boots, Ickfall, and Executioner or Rage, depending on if they have a mage. That's how I base it. I get Rage if they don't have a warrior in the solo.
Okay, boys, I'm now officially got my 80 carry guide right there. Using that often.
It's pretty much the same 4 items every time, just because it's so strong. And the attack speed, if you have Ickfall and boots and Executioner is insane. It's so scary, especially on Shibalanke.
Yeah, it was really like ADC's got like these item changes are really great for him. But I think Kret did a few videos discussing the math behind it. There's actually some guys that you wouldn't pick up Equival. I think Apollo, Artemis, and Ram both. If you build Equival into the build, you'll be overcapping your attack speed, which is wasted resources. So I think on those particular gods, it gets substituted out for. Oh, is it just straight Xe or something else? I can't quite remember, but if you look it up, Kret's done the videos of all that. And yeah, overcapping your attack speed, like sure, it's still effective, you can do it, but for maximum resources, there's only that general tweak. Like Bluestone Pendant versus, say, Death's Toll right now, I think with gods with ADCs with attack steroids are more picking up Death Toll because they get more effectiveness out of it. I know, there's a whole ton of maths, and I suggest if you want the best on that, like Kret's the dude that's gone knuckled it down. He's the one that, like, when all these new builds started popping up in ADC, like, he's the guy that's sitting there going, here's the math. So I definitely, if you want to learn how to build an ADC to the best effect, Kret's the guy to go to.
Definitely. Yeah, that's where I learned most of my stuff about AD carries and the mathematics behind it and what's the greatest thing to build. Yeah.
Alright, so I'm listening to the wrong two guys.
Nah, man, he's got
Okay.
YouTube videos and all that.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's really good.
Man, if only we had YouTube videos. No, yeah. Well, this will probably be up on YouTube afterwards.
Definitely.
Shield of the Underworld. Upon activation, you reflect 40% of all damage you take before mitigations for the next 5 seconds. For the next 5%. Back to its owner as magical damage. While this is active, enemies cannot lifesteal from you. That's an interesting effect. Cooldown of 60 seconds, cost of 600, and this is a new active item in its own tree. Again, we're back to this active slots, and just feeling that there's better pickups in this slot.
Sorry, which item is that? The
Shield of the Underworld.
Okay.
Oh, God.
This item is good, but usually when I play against it, it's not significantly great because your damage is much more than that 40%. So they die quickly anyway. I don't really know how to put it. I don't find this substantially changing. It's a good item, but it's not massive.
And I would definitely agree to that. It's another troll item. Like, I pick it up as say I'm an assault, I roll a Hercules, a Shark, something that I just build Urchin on and just laugh because I can't be killed. It's one of those items where I just pick it up. It's really effective, got good stats, it looks good, and it can be quite effective in certain situations. But all in all, it's just a self-shell. Like, you might as well get shell and protect your whole team instead of, giving yourself this really nice tanky buff, but it's all for yourself. Smite's a team game. You can't afford to be picking that up.
Lies. Smite is not a team game. Anyway, it's a duo queue game. Alright, and finally rounding out our items, new items, is the Crusher with plus 40 physical power, plus 20 physical penetration. Passive, each basic attack against towers and phoenixes grants a stack that increases your attack speed by 6% and movement speed by 3% for 2 seconds with a maximum of 5 stacks. 2,300 gold, and a new tier 3 item building directly off of Heavy Mace. I don't see this being strong at all. Except in very finicky scenarios.
Precisely, exactly what you said there. It's so situational, you barely ever see it get played because it's such a split pushing item. Like, say, you could build it on say Apollo. That's like the only situation I could think of off the top of my head because he split pushes, he could push down a tower, take it really easily, and then just ult and fly across the map into the team fight. But then you're building that instead of penetration, say like a Titan's Bane or something else like crit. Personally, I don't think it's worth. It's not awesome because you want to destroy the enemy so that you can take those towers for free rather than wait till the enemy is on the other side of the map and then take the towers.
I personally build the item in only two situations. That's when I'm playing either Loki or Bastet, and I want to be the most annoying little prick I possibly can. And I build it. I think I build it after my CDR or something. Because from there, I'm just going to be transitioning. Like I run a teleport split push Loki. So when the team's distracted, I teleport to the one side of the map. I take all their towers, and then maybe a Phoenix while I'm at it. But then late game, when I've already killed all the towers, I've done my job. I reckon I've definitely got the value of the item. I then sell it late game and then buy something more effective. So I do think it could work if you're running that playstyle, because it just gives you a nice little bit of extra burst. That's tower English specific. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, because if you have to make it worth by taking down like 2 or more towers, I reckon. Otherwise, it's not really worth the gold, I think.
Again, risk versus reward.
Yeah.
All right. Item changes. These existing items from Season 1 were not safe from our sweep of changes. Thank you, Hi-Rez, oh great lord Hi-Rez, who invented a game with gods and apparently put themselves above the gods.
There's so many here. I don't think we should go through all of them.
Okay. So
just the major ones.
let's actually, well, I'll tell you what, we're coming up on a large sort of time scale. Let's hold this off for next week.
Yep.
Because there's some other major points to make. I mean, we've done a decent amount of items at this point.
Mm-hmm.
If we just hold off the rest of this patch for next week, because I mean, look at all the carry updates as well.
Yeah.
I saw the small amount of changes. I was just like, yeah, let's do patch notes. No, let's not do patch notes.
The biggest change, sorry, is just the basic attack speed, and then the attack speed per level increase for all the 80 carries was changed. A lot of them are different, but this back to the scaling of 80 carries. All of them were changed.
X-Baller's laughing, man. It's like, oh, thank you, Hi-Rez, for making me crazy strong.
Yeah. That was just what I wanted to point out, is that the scaling changed for the attack speed per level and the basic attack speed. The base attack speed at level 1. Yes.
Yep, right. That's pretty much it.
Important changes. All right. Now we're going to move on to the Oceanic teams. Unfortunately, this week we had the disbanding of Mighty Nexus. Unfortunately.
Yes.
But another major point is we actually had ping 270 falling down the Cybergamer Smite ladder. Thoughts on this one, guys?
Nightfall.
I need to word this without sounding.
Okay, so Nightfall's apologizing in advance. What he says from now on could be slightly offensive to some people, but it's not aimed in that way. Nightfall is a very honest person from working with him up until this point. So take whatever you hear from his mouth right now with a pinch of salt, and just reflect on it. It's not designed to hurt anyone or cause anger.
Yes. I feel as though they're not the strongest team in Oceania by any means. They can be up there, definitely. It's just the reason why they're going down is that the better teams are going up, and they're taking that spot. Silicon, Incite, Trident, and Knights of Honor, they're actually doing really well. Their skill is actually increased by such a large margin. It's really good to see. They're by no means weak, ping 270. They are very good. It's just I feel like the stronger teams is just starting to move up, and that's why they're going down.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like, with the disbanding of... Oh, God, I'm losing my train of thought tonight. But I hate to see teams disband. I really, really hate it when I see it, because I want this scene to grow as vastly and as greatly as possible. And every time a team disbands, it's one less team to be playing against. So really sad to see it, but I hope more teams pop up from around it from either the players or anything like that. It makes me sad when I hear that teams break up. But in terms of them falling down the ladder. It's exactly as Nightfall said. It's just the teams that do have the more experience are just getting up there, playing the games. Like us, Incite, we haven't been playing a lot on the Cyber Gamer ladder, but we're actually going to be picking that up soon. We should be challenging some teams when we get a chance. So hopefully you'll see us play a few more Cyber Gamer games, but it's just a simple thing. Like how it works is like the better teams are always going to roll up, and if people have an off day, they're going to fall down. It's just what happens. But teams are improving at an insane rate. Players are getting better. Better players are popping up. Teams are forming that are got so much talent behind them that we're going to have a serious scene, I reckon. It's going to be great.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
something important to note right now is there are now 25 teams in the Cyber Gamer ladder. That is huge. That is just an explosion of power. So.
Yeah. I remember back when it was on 7 teams, and now it's at 25. It's so good.
Sorry, that's 25 fully membered up teams that are available to play games. There's another 8 teams that are still forming, and that in itself is another good thing. Like there's two there with 3 there with 4 players as well. So there's another few teams that'll be up and online in the near future and playing, and that's going to develop an amateur scene. Obviously, the top of the top is going to be professional scene as well. You'll see teams challenging each other, and you're probably going to be seeing them challenge each other for that spot at the end of the year. So just keep an eye on it. The Cyber Gamer ladder is now alive and ticking.
Yeah, and it's great to see. The expansion of the Smite Oceanic community right now is so... It's... I don't know what the correct word for it is, but it's just so great to see. I just love it. It's awesome. I love this community.
It's straight up awesome. I said I started streaming like a week ago, and the whole community has come out and just blown me away. Like everyone's coming in saying, "Hi, how you doing? Oh, you stream, cool, that's sweet." And it's just shown me that we can be the community that I want us to be. Like I just want us to be like a strong, positive, dynamic community that actually has a foothold in Smite. Like I don't want us to be just another, just we're Oceania. I want people from NA and EU to look in and go, oh, Oceanic players. Oh, they're a bunch of chill dudes. Oh, cool. They got some sweet teams. And I want us to be painted in a positive light. Like this community, like we have the potential. We just got to all put it in, get out there, and just keep doing what we're doing, man. Like this, everyone's doing so great, and the expansion, I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, major game obviously coming up at some stage this week. Both the teams, Silicon obviously. I'm actually going to be managing Silicon's MOBA department.
Awesome.
And obviously at the moment, that's actually my role within Silicon. So Silicon versus Trident, that's going to be an interesting game. Our boys were very honest with me when I discussed with them the other day what the chances were. They don't rate themselves, and I personally don't like to see teams going out there and going, hey, we're better than everyone, and then they lose a bunch of games, and then they go, oh no, we're still better than everyone. We just had 7-8 off games in a row. That doesn't happen. And to me, that's what I want to see from all the teams. I want them to see them go, okay, we lost. Why did we lose? Where can we improve? How do we change up our draft phase? How do we change up our early rotations? How did we not have enough turret pressure? Hey, 5 of us went top when there was 2 people up there ganking. Left hand to the solo lane. There was 3 people in the solo lane. We had somebody with wave clear up there that could hold them off the turret and wasn't vulnerable to dying. We should have sent 3 people to the mid lane and shoved that turret out, forced them to counter. That sort of stuff. It is promoted obviously by the duo queue changes that we discussed earlier in the podcast, and also the top tier sort of competitiveness and levels of play that you're seeing from these teams. So that's interesting to note, and as well, good segue here, coming from Temperwolf's discussion just a few seconds ago. He loves the community. I want to see a really, really good community. I've seen some toxicness because I am a new player, I am a fresh player, and I am very vulnerable to getting those lower queues sort of players that are higher in level but still in the lower tiers of the queue, and they're just like, oh, you know nothing about the game. Yeah, of course I know nothing about the game. Barely played the game. I'm trying, to understand. If you guys just throw me a couple of nice quips, go, okay, yeah, you're on Guardian role this game. Here's your champion. Here's a really nice build path, and here's a really good leveling guide. Because I'm still learning abilities and heroes and what the general role is about. If you be nice to that, be the change that you want in the scene. If you have come from America or the European servers or anywhere else in the world and you've experienced that toxicity, don't bring it here.
Yeah,
It's tough.
It's
Be positive. Be positive the entire game and just breathe. Because if you are nice and you offer that help and support to your team, as a jungler, you see your lane's already down 2 kills for whatever reason. You go and help them gank. You go, okay, is this lane worth ganking, guys? Where can I come in? What would you like me to do? That's going to promote a good scene. And generally as well, positivity breeds positivity. And negativity generates negativity. So if you guys are positive, the scene's going to be positive. And everyone else you play within the scene, within the casual games, within the league games, it's going to be a positive environment to play within.
it's that 100% agree with that. That was well put. Again, it was. Yeah, not really much to expand on that. You sort of covered everything. That was great.
I completely agree. Like, we are what we make it. Like, we will. Everyone's got to pitch in, do their thing, and just do it. Like, I know it's hard. Like, holy hell. Like,
There are going to be games
on a daily basis. Like, I get tested on my resolve, but it's a matter of everyone. Like, if just everyone took like that conscious effort to try and be positive, but it would be so much a better players. But at the moment, Smite is extremely scary for new players. Like, I don't believe we have the setup, especially in OCE, to really welcome them, because they're getting paired against players that just assume they're going to be 30. Like, you go into the matchmaking, you get into a game, you're like, oh my, okay, everyone's 30, let's have a good game.
Okay,
If you don't say you're new, people are going to get mad.
Yeah.
That's what
just say it. And as a level 30 player who thinks you might have a few of these players in your team, don't have your first response be to rage. Just go, hey, are you guys new? Would you like some tips? Don't just instantly respond to rage. It's the easy reaction to have, and I do understand you for having it, but don't take the easy way out. If we all take a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, we are all going to learn. We are all going to benefit. And that person that you helped 5 or 6 games ago may have taken your advice on board. You may get queued up with him again, or you may get queued up against him. And instead of just having, an easy matchup because he's playing that same hero and you didn't give him advice, you can have a bit of a challenge. And to me, I like having that challenge. That's what I like about a game. I don't like being presented with, oh, hey, you're a platinum player, let's queue against a bronze player. You're going to easily win that matchup. You're going to easily gain, the matchmaking rating or ELO or, whatever it is across all of your games. To continue to become a better player, you need to be put against harder and harder opponents. And the other thing as well is, you wanna see Temper us as a competitive scene. Why not? We don't just have to be a competitive scene. We can be the best scene in the world as a positive player base.
Yeah.
We can definitely build a positive community.
Absolutely.
And with, like, as I'm a competitive player, so I obviously want a thriving competitive scene, but I do also want the casual scene as well. Like,
there is not. You're not going to get everyone within a game to be all competitive. You're not going to be everyone within a game to be all casual. You're going to have a vast range of player base, and everyone within that player base deserves to be respected, deserves to find what they want from the game. And just offer them help, just offer them friendly tips and advice, just breathe. Breathing is really empowering. I mean, I raced motocross when I was a kid, and every single time I got on that start grid, I got nervous. And the first thing it did was make me turn around and try to bite my parents' heads off. And all they were going was go, come on, you just need to breathe. You just, in through your nose, out through your mouth 3 or 4 times, and just focus on controlling your breathing. And immediately, your motion goes, you play with a clearer head because you're no longer angry. Your gameplay, obviously, is going to improve because of that. You have better reactions when you are playing with a clear head and you're not focusing on your anger. There is just a myriad of things to do. When you die, don't just immediately respond with your keyboard. Don't pick your keyboard up and mash it into the ground because you are that mad. Focus on your breathing instead. Yeah, this is a $200 keyboard. So
yeah, I know, right? Sorry, I forgot it.
Oh, that's yeah. I don't know if you
But-
guys. Yeah, is there anything else you guys like want to say on that note?
I'd just like to show an example of that. I was playing Arena today as Poseidon, and we were behind by about 30, 40 tickets. I got pretty mad at the start of the game. I did actually slam my keyboard. But then, like you said, you calm down, you breathe, and right at the end of the game, I got a quadra kill and had a penta stolen from me.
I hate that, man.
Okay, you can
I-
rate
then-
that. That's-
No, I was calm at the time. But then I got another kill and got an unofficial penta, so we killed 6 of them because the one I killed first respawned and we killed them again. And this was all while we were behind. So the team was really disorganized and separated, but now at the end of the game, everyone just sort of came together and we had an epic team fight. Everyone was just calm and just played, and we won by 1 ticket. And
Oh my God.
I was like, oh my god. So teamwork
Ultimate success
OP, guys. Teamwork OP.
Yeah,
All right,
straight up.
so we're starting to run pretty late, but let's rush through and finish this off. Hi-Rez has come out and said that OCE is going to have a different path of esports in Smite. It could be Cybergamer. It could be a bunch of LAN events. There is limitless possibilities, except for that one possibility that is like NA and EU. So I don't know. Let's have a look at what other esports companies, particularly Riot, because Riot have obviously put a lot into the Australian scene over the last year. They ran 3 separate major events with a bunch of online qualifiers into their own tournament, and the top 4 out of the 8 that got into each event, and there were significant prizes. That potentially could be on the table here. What would you guys like to see? What is the one big competitive win for you guys at the end of the year? You know, is it one big major event where, 8, 16 teams maybe played out across a couple more days than just one convention, and the winner obviously goes off to the World Championships, because as far as I know, we do have a confirmed seed to the World Championships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have
but
one spot.
Is there anything that you guys want to see in particular?
I just want an announcement, man.
Yeah.
Like,
This is just
NA
more
and EU,
information.
even Latin America, have all started
Their
their
quali-
qualifiers,
Yeah.
and we still don't even know exactly what's going on. Like, we've had Cybergamer going around, we've had some sponsors like circling around teams. Like, everyone seems primed and ready, but no one knows. Like, a few key people do know, and we know that it is in the works and it's there somewhere. But right at this point, I just want to know what's going to go down. Like, I personally would prefer like a highly competitive, like similar to NA and EU, like some tournaments, like not just like one big tournament, like tons of tournaments, lots of data being thrown in, so teams can show their mettle, show what they're made of, and show their true skill. I don't like one-offs where, like, best of ones or whatever, you go in, you have an off game, you're out. I hate
Yeah.
that. I want big competitive. Like, Cybergamer, it's a good idea, but I don't personally think it fully fleshes out what it needs to.
Yeah.
But nah, like I would just love something slightly similar to NA and EU, like lots of tournaments, lots of action, lots of playing, lots of experience, and then like LAN events. That'd be really nice, but people need a lot of heads up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see it, but I don't want to be like downscaled, because we've been brought up watching NA and EU and all the flash and the bells and whistles. I want at least a whistle, man.
Yeah.
I just want a whistle.
Is it like a Thor's hammer shaped whistle? You can just
Yeah.
pick up at the end of the event, like,
Oh,
yeah,
man. Like,
I
like
won the event.
That'd be really cool, but it's just so hype when you win. Like,
Yeah.
I personally would love to be at Worlds. Like, that's the end game of anything that pops up, is that Oceania, like, it sucks that we're only going to get 1 spot. Like, it'd be really nice if we got 2, like the rest of the regions, but even though we've got that 1 spot, and everyone is going to be fighting for that spot no matter what. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking forward to.
The competition, because of that 1 spot, we need to emphasize that's 1 spot out of so many teams. So the competition to get that spot is going to be massive.
It's going to be fierce, man.
It's going to be
Yeah.
crazy, and it's going to be so exciting for the viewers, for everyone involved. It's going to be awesome.
from a shoutcasting perspective, it is so easy to hype up a game like that. But you have to be very careful to make sure when a game like that happens that you make sure that you're not just hype, because you can overhype things like that. That can happen, and that is a major problem that you need to make sure you don't overdo. So there are some games that you can just throw as much hype as you want at, and it's just because of the way the game rolls. But on another note, I do want to make sure that the casters, whoever they're going to be, because obviously they haven't been announced. Hi, I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Hi, notice me, senpai.
Really awesome.
But yeah, I want to make sure that they have the contact with the teams as well. Obviously you guys, Incite, Trident, Ping 270, they need to have everything. And then when it comes down to this final battle as well, they need to sort of have a bit of a knowledge of the players, because when you get into an environment like a final deathmatch, you're going to a best of 3 and it's the final game, and the winner it'll probably be best of 5, because you don't play a best of 3 for something
you
like
don't
that.
play something that big on 3 matches.
So you get to a final game in a best of 5, and people's nerves, like let's just take a League of Legends Oceanic reference, because there's one in particular that threw everyone off. The Chiefs, as they are now known, have been international. They're the star-studded team. They play and they beat everyone for 18 months. No one beat them in 18 months except for one team one time, right? They get to the grand final of qualifying for Worlds last year, qualifying for wildcards for Worlds last year, and they throw.
Yeah.
They just straight out throw. Their pick and ban phase, they throw it. They were 2-0 up in the game score, and then they just throw.
Yeah.
Right?
That was so painful
can
to see.
happen to any team.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the mentality and making sure that you as a player are not. You're gonna have your preparation book. You're gonna go, all right, I have 5 games worth of drafts. We're going to play through maybe the first 2, and then mostly to that book, you might have one change of bans or picks in that sort of slot. And then after that, you're going to have a general idea of what you're thinking about playing, but you need to adapt to the situation. You need to adapt to the pressure scenario. Because let's take this back to Smite World Championships. At Game 3, 2-0 down, you are not out of that series. You are not. And, Titan almost pulled that back. So close.
Yeah.
Right? You have to always have that attitude. And this is why a big thing why I'm about positivity in the community is because if you can give players that fight, and especially in an Australian scenario, we're all about that fight. We're all about that hunger for, something a little bit more and never want to give up. So I'm hyped for an Australian scene. I'm hyped for that big game that's going to decide who's going to the WCS 2016. And man, just everything that preludes that, it is going to be one hell of an Australian season.
It's going to be so awesome. Personally, I'd love to cast, but I don't think I'm good enough at the moment. But going to PAX...
Could you say your night falling short?
Facepalm. Epic facepalm.
Come on, man.
I just something like PAX is pointed out in the chat by the machine there from General's Channel 1.
There have been rumors.
He said
this is an actual rumor.
I so want this to happen. I mean, I live in New Zealand, so it's going to be really expensive to get there and go, but it would just be so awesome to go to PAX. Like last year, Smite was at PAX, but there was no huge event. But something that big for our community would just be so mind-blowingly awesome. It would be so good.
There have the rumors that I've heard in particular is that Smite and Hi-Rez are going to be taking over Riot's huge stage at PAX. Think about the ramifications.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Would they get away with that?
Apparently, Riot are pulling the pin on all outside of events. I'm not 100% sure on what the go is with that, but
okay.
That's
that would
another.
be so hyped though.
Yeah.
Big stage. Whew. The excitement, man.
Yeah,
I'm hyped.
It's gonna be
I'm hyped.
so
Let's-
awesome.
let's go.
All right. Well, that's probably a good place to leave it. But I mean, there's this one sort of last thing I'd like to mention.
Sure
we
thing.
have a small community of streamers. These guys right here are a part of it. So if you guys could go right ahead and tell people how to keep up to date with both yourselves your streaming platform and any other social media. Maybe you've got a Twitter or a public Facebook page that you use for your streaming or anything. How can the people keep up to date with what you guys, your teams, or anything you're doing is up to?
You first, Temper.
Well, you can find me. I'm streaming most days now on Temper_Wolf, with the T and W capitalized. And you can also contact me through like Reddit. Go to the Smite OCE Reddit. I read it pretty much every day. And I think that Reddit username is Temperwolf. But you can double check that. You'll find me in the forums. Well, not forums. Not Reddit. Reddit's kind of like a forum, but it's not quite at the same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely find there. I respond to every message I get. I try and chat to everyone else in my stream.
Right now.
So, by all means, if you want to hit me up for tips, a chat, anything like that, I'm generally on in most nights.
Can I just say, Temperwolf is by far one of the best Oceanic streamers.
Oh man,
So
thanks.
much knowledge coming out of this guy. He's great. Definitely recommend you follow him.
Thanks, not man.
No worries, dude. So usually I stream on here, not very much lately. But I do have a personal channel. It's just Nightfall with a 4. You can follow me there. I'm not usually there. Best way to contact me is on this channel, on Reddit, on Facebook, the group, also on Curse. My username is Nightfall with a 1 for the I, 4 for the A. I kind of hate it, but that's it there, yeah.
Change your name now if you're going to do it. Best advice you will receive. I got stuck with rank, and now I'm like thinking about changing it. I'm just like, no, I can't. I can't change it.
Oh, I can change what it's showing, but not the actual username. Damn it. But yeah, that's me.
All right, guys. Well, this has been your Smite Oceania week completerino, and I tell you what. One hell of a podcast, a lot of content here, and there'll be a lot of content back here next week. We're going to finalize the time and date. Hopefully we'll have Top Notch back next week. If you've liked what you've seen, don't forget to give a follow to the channel. As well, my personal Facebook, although I'm a lot more League of Legends and other sort of stuff focused, I'll actually be on another League of Legends podcast tomorrow night. If you guys want to follow me, at Rankonius on Twitter or facebook.com/Rankonius, I'm going to say yes. Yes, it is. Look at that. I did the cool thing. But other than that, don't forget to follow the channel here, Smite_OCE. Tell your friends. There will be YouTube VODs. Go and make sure you at least subscribe the channel. If you
I'll put a link to that in the chat right now.
Yeah, and ensure that you subscribe to the channel and tell your friends that may not have seen this. That there will be a VOD going up as soon as we get our favorite senpai over here, Mr. Knight, falling asleep, to post that one up. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. You guys got any final words to everyone?
Just thanks for watching. I really appreciate everyone who's watching right now, watching on YouTube. Yeah, you guys are the community, and we love you. You guys are the awesomest.
Pretty much what Nightfall said. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the community, and love you all.
Yeah.
Alright guys, well that is all we have time for here on your week in Smite Oceania. This has been week 2. Bye for now. Not forever.
That was awesome.